If you suffer your failure, it's okay, because failure comes easy. If you suffer your success, that is tragedy. Large number of successful people on the planet are suffering their success. Today, the most predominant factor that rules the planet has become economics. When economics is the only thing that we are thinking about, we will tend to become very gross and unhappy in so many ways. How many moments are you really happy? If you look at this, is it going up or down? Because after all, everything that you did in your life is in pursuit of happiness, isn't it? If you do not know how to manage your mind, how to manage your energies, how to manage your interiority, managing the outside is bound to be accidental. Being anxious all the time becomes a natural part of life. A lot of people have understood management as a way of throwing their weight around. Throwing your weight around is not management, any fool can do that. Somehow people have come to the conclusion that if you do things in the world, you're bound to be stressful. Everybody believes their job is stressful. See, management means we want to decide the course of our destiny. But if you have no management over your own mind, you managing 10,000 minds is going to be a disaster. Every management that we do is only for human well-being. Human beings should rise to their full potential. If you're capable of gathering such a large body and so much mind, there must be something more fundamental than this. But that never comes into your experience. If we want to live well, both externally and internally, how well we live here simply depends on how well we manage our surroundings and how well we manage ourselves. Fundamentally, life is management. If you don't know how to maintain your body, your mind, your emotion, your situations, the quality of our life is just how well we manage things with ourselves. But generally, we are thinking of management, we are applying ourselves to management only in terms of business management or industry management, or generally we are talking management only with economic situations, not life as a whole. In many ways, it's unfortunate that today the most predominant factor that rules the planet has become economics. The other aspects of life have been totally pushed to the corner. When economics is the only thing that we are thinking about, we will tend to become very gross and unhappy in so many ways. What I see is, we are conducting various levels of programs to very top-level executives in some major corporations in the world. What I see is, people who have failed in their lives, they're suffering their failure. People who have succeeded in their life, they're suffering their success. You suffer your failure, it's okay, because failure comes easy. If you suffer your success, that is tragedy, because success doesn't come easy. So, something that you worked for, something that you always longed for, something that you wanted to create in your life, when it happens, if you start suffering that, that's the real tragedy of life. But a large number of successful people on the planet are suffering their success. When I say suffering their success, look at yourself and see, you're still young people, most of you. When you're 5 years of age, how happy you were, and today, how happy you are. If we make a chart out of it, a graph out of it, is it moving upward or downward? In 24 hours' time, how many moments are you really happy? If you look at this, is it going up or down? Is it going up or down? Down. So that means you're a bad manager, because after all, everything that you did in your life is in pursuit of happiness, isn't it? All that you're doing in your life, you're doing it because you believe that is your happiness. You educate yourself, you pursue careers, you build families, you run after your ambitions. So many things you do because somewhere you believe fulfilling those things will bring you happiness. After doing all that, if happiness is not multiplying, it is going down, that means you are a bad manager of yourself. Anybody who does not know how to manage his own body, his own mind, his own emotion and his energies, if he is managing outside situations, he is only managing them by accident, not by intent, the way he wants it. Because if you do not know how to manage your mind, how to manage your energies, how to manage your interiority, managing the outside is bound to be accidental. When you manage situations by accident, you exist as an accident. When you exist as an accident, you are a potential calamity. When you exist as a potential calamity, being anxious all the time becomes a natural part of life. Anywhere you go today, people are talking stress management. Especially a few years ago when I first went to United States, wherever I go, people were talking stress management. I could not understand why anybody wants to manage his stress. I can understand you want to manage your business, your finance, your family, your property, whatever, but why would you want to manage stress? It took me a while to understand these people have come to the conclusion that there is no other way to live. Somehow people have come to the conclusion that if you do things in the world, you're bound to be stressful. One is not stressful because of what they're doing. One is stressful because he's a bad manager of himself. He doesn't know how to manage his own systems. That is why he's stressful. It is not the nature of the job which makes one stressful. You ask a chaparasi, he is also stressful. You ask the top executive, he is also stressful. Everybody believes their job is stressful. No job is stressful. If you have no control over your own systems, you will be stressful. Whether you do something or you don't do anything, isn't it so? See, management means we want to decide the course of our destiny. We don't want to live here by accident. We want to take our lives where we want to go. That's management, isn't it so? If you're managing by accident, you're not a manager. Without you, things will run better. So once you say, I'm a manager, that means somewhere you have decided that you want to go in a particular way. You want to have a certain kind of situation, both inward and outward. So everybody is a manager in his own capacity, but in different levels and different types. Whether you manage a kitchen where you cook for 4 people, or you manage a large industry where 10,000 people work, fundamentally, if you want to have a good kitchen or a good industry, you must be a good manager of that situation, isn't it? So whether you're managing a little kitchen or a large industry, if you want to manage outside situations, generally you will have to manage material and people around you. If you have to manage 10 people or 10,000 people around you, you have to manage 10 minds or 10,000 minds around you. But if you have no management over your own mind, you managing 10,000 minds is going to be a disaster. In the process of doing something, if we are destroying human beings, which is happening right now. In the process of managing a situation, the man is broken, then this kind of management is no good, because after all, every management that we do is only for human well-being. If we are doing management for human well-being, in the process of doing something, in the process of managing situations, it is not only about producing something or making profit, human beings should rise to their full potential. If we manage a situation properly, in simple process of working, you and the people who are working with you should be able to raise to their full potential. When I say rising to full potential, not just work potential, but as human beings, they must be able to rise to their full potential. If people work together, then people should be able to rise to the peak of their love, peace, compassion within themselves. If this doesn't happen, then it's bad management, because all management, the basic intent is human well-being. If that is not happening, you're just producing something, you're making little profit, but human beings are getting broken in the process. It doesn't mean anything. So if this kind of management has to happen, that just in managing a business, you find people around you raise to their peak, then you have to spend a certain amount of time in focusing on your inner management. If this doesn't happen, you will only manage situations by accident. A lot of people have understood management as a way of throwing their weight around. Throwing your weight around is not management, any fool can do that. If you manage a situation, not just things happening there, people should feel elevated just being in that space. Otherwise, it is not management. Above all, if you go to a place and you manage a situation, you must feel wonderful being there. If that doesn't happen, you are not a good manager. So if this has to happen, you need an inner dimension. When I say inner dimension, what is inner dimension? When I say inner, I'm not just talking about the body or the mind, because both this body and mind you gathered from outside in certain ways, isn't it? For example, this physical body, when you were a child, this body was only this much. Now it's become this much. How did this happen? How did this happen? That's a question. How did this happen? Food that you ate, isn't it? What you call as my body is actually a heap of food that you gathered. What you call as food is just a piece of earth that you convert it into food and make it into body, isn't it? So this body is just a heap of food that you gathered over a period of time. What you call as my mind is a heap of impressions that you gathered from outside. Now you have a heap of food and a heap of impressions. If this much gathering has to happen, something more than this must exist, isn't it? If you're capable of gathering such a large body and so much mind, there must be something more fundamental than this. But that never comes into your experience. You're just lost in these two heaps, trying to make some sense out of it. Now, as there is a science, as there is a management science for external well-being, there is a management for science for inner well-being. It is just that most of the time we have not approached it scientifically, we're just believing by doing something somehow everything will be okay. Right now, people are thinking by educating themselves they will live happily ever after, which you will discover after some time it's not so. By getting a job, they think they're going to be happy ever after, which you will discover it is not so. By making money, you think you're going to be happy ever after, you will discover it is not so. Somebody thinks by getting married they're going to be ever after, and they know it is not so. So, you're trying to somehow fool yourself into believing that by doing something everything will be okay. Though repeatedly it has let you down, still you believe that something else, some other miracle will make everything okay. It'll not be okay. If you are seeking a life of fulfillment, if you are seeking a life of joy and peace and well-being within yourself in some way, you must do the right thing, otherwise it won't work. Now that you are managers or to be managers, probably, definitely, I hope they have taught you, unless you do the right thing, it doesn't work with outside. The same goes with the inside, unless you do the right thing, it just doesn't work.